story this morning. Oscar Pistorius has been released from the Pretoria's Kgosi Mampuru prison. He was let out ahead of schedule last night and is home already. The Paralympic athlete's 5-year sentence for culpable homicide is being commuted to correctional services. Pistorius spent a year behind bars for killing his girlfriend, Riva Steenkamp, in February 2013. That's on Valentine's Day. He was due to be released 2 months ago, but the Justice Ministry stopped it, saying that the decision to release him had been premature. However, last week, the parole board granted his release. The state's appeal against his culpable homicide conviction has been set down in the Bloemfontein Supreme Court of Appeal for the 3rd of next month. Eben Jansen is standing by with our first interview for this morning on the Oscar Pistorius story.
Yeah, thank you very much, Salvis. Now, our reporter, Sipho Stirman, who is at the Pointons building a correctional facility in Pretoria, where Pistorius was expected to sign his release papers this morning. Very good morning to you, Sipho. Thank you for joining us. Sipho, it was a bit of a surprise, this release, this early release of Oscar Pistorius.
Indeed, the early release took journalists by surprise, and I think the country by surprise as well. Everyone expected him to be released here at the headquarters today, where he would sign his release papers. But then, as we found out later on, that he's actually been released yesterday, and that has left many here disappointed, because I think the last time we saw Oscar Pistorius it was last year, when he was being sentenced, and I think a lot of people wanted to see how he looks like right now. Perhaps he was enjoying prison food, he gained a bit of weight. We just needed to get an idea and a glimpse of the man that Oscar Pistorius is now, after having spent almost a year in prison. But that opportunity never came through, since there was seemingly a top secret plan to release him outside the public eye. And that has caused a lot of stir actually on social media, with people suggesting that he's being given preferential treatment. But then the correctional services saying that that's not the case, that in previous cases there have been releases such as this before. But what we understand now is that at 9:30 this morning, his family will be releasing a statement at his Waterkloof home in Pretoria East to just give clarity on the situation.
Sipho, just tell us about the release. How does a release like this proceed? Surely as an inmate, you have to sign release forms at some point. Has all of that processes been adhered to?
Well, that is the question. Has he signed the release forms? That's why we are still actually stationed here, because there are beliefs that he might come through to the headquarters here and sign those release forms. Remember, in past situations where big cases like the Waterkloof 4, where they were released in the evening or the day before that was expected, they had to come back the following day to actually sign those papers. So some of us in the media are hoping that that will actually happen, or that's why we are standing by here to actually see if procedures will be followed and that he will indeed show up. If things were to go as per normal, he would then come through. That is why we are stationed here. But, seemingly this has been, very undercover, and it's been, in secrecy, this whole release plan. So we don't know what's happening. As media, we're playing a catch-up game here, a guessing game, because correctional services seems to be keen on shielding Oscar from the media frenzy surrounding his release.
Quickly, before we wrap up, Sipho, just tell us, what have you heard? The release, was it a low-profile affair in a cavalcade? How did he go from where he was yesterday to where he is now?
Well, we spoke to some of the securities here at headquarters when we arrived, to just get a sense if he did actually arrive here at any point, whether it was yesterday or even much earlier this morning. And the securities that we spoke to, they told us that there was no sign of him here at all. So the working theory is that he was actually escorted from Kgosi Mampuru to his home. But then again, I must mention that this is nothing that has been confirmed. That is the theory that we have amongst ourselves as we are playing catch up to this. But I think clearer details are going to come through at that media address by the family in Pretoria East.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to Sipho Stearman on the spot there in the capital. Of course, at 9:30, we expect the family to release a statement. We'll be live outside the house bringing you that statement. Yes, it was somewhat of a surprise. This overnight release is what we are calling it now in the media. But let's go to Alvis, who's standing by with more.
And of course, we're asking you that question this morning. What do you make of the premature release of Oscar Pistorius? You can let us know on social media in terms of what you think of that release there. Now, the Department of Correctional Facilities is adamant that the decision to release Oscar Pistorius from prison a day earlier than planned was not preferential treatment. For more on this, we are joined by a reporter in the Pretoria CBD, Mangcoba. Mangcoba, very good morning to you. Do you get a sense from the streets of Pretoria that Pistorius got special treatment, perhaps?
Well, certainly that's the idea and the talking point that we're getting, and the sense really that we're getting from many South Africans, especially here on the streets of Pretoria. We're here at the Paul Kruger Square in the CBD, and really talking to people, trying to find out what they feel about Oscar being released a day earlier than he was due to be released. Certainly it's a story that's become a talking point around here, and we're just going to find out from the people themselves, just to get a sense of what really they are saying. Ma'am, what do you think of Oscar being released a day before he was meant to?
It's not fair. So it shows then
certainly what she's saying here is that she believes that this decision was not fair, saying that Oscar Pistorius should have spent more time in jail, and that it certainly shows that people who can afford, or those who have money, can escape the justice, and therefore she says that Oscar Pistorius should have stayed more time in jail, and she feels that the whole process was not fair. I'm going to move on now to the next person that I can speak to. Sir, just your honest feeling on how do you feel about Oscar Pistorius being released yesterday?
No, my feelings was very bad. Just because they're hiding, we don't know. Only things we know the Oscar they have to release today. So we're shocked. They say Oscar released yesterday 7:30. So we don't know why they're hiding. Why they're hiding to release when they release Oscar.
What about you, sir? What do you think of this? Are you also shocked?
I'm really shocked. I don't know what is happening around this world. Yes, no. We're asking ourselves why he's getting a special treatment for. What's going on? We don't know. We're really shocked about what happened yesterday.
Okay. Thank you very much. Well, that's certainly the feeling of people here in Pretoria, saying that they believe that the process was not transparent enough, and that they have more questions, in fact, than answers as to how Oscar Pistorius was released before his time. And certainly we are yet to find out more answers, but we know that the Correctional Services Department has come out to say that there was nothing sinister in this, and they're saying that it was left to the hands of the Kgosi Mampuru officials to decide when Oscar Pistorius will be released, and that they had to take into consideration certain circumstances for Oscar Pistorius to be released, and therefore they believe that this process was done fairly at that particular time. So we are going to be hoping, though, to find out more from the Pistorius family, and certainly we'll be keeping a close eye on developments also outside the Pistorius home.
Thank you, Mangcoba. We're definitely keeping a close eye on that story. Reporter in Pretoria, CBD, Mangcoba Mkunu, and people expressing their thoughts on the pre-release of Oscar Pistorius. But what's your thoughts on that? Over to you, Eben.
Yeah, thank you very much. Our question of the day relates to that. We ask you to interact with us. Tell us, what do you make of Oscar's overnight release? Of course, varied comments on social media. We'll look at some of them a little bit later. Well, time now for us to go to the Pistorius house just outside the capital, where Griselda Lewis is standing by with a guest this morning. Very good morning to you, Griselda. No, that's not Griselda. There she is. Good morning to you, Griselda. Thank you for joining us.
Well, the media contingent certainly has grown here outside the home of Oscar Pistorius' uncle, Arnold Pistorius, just a little bit earlier on. We saw Arnold Pistorius leaving the home here. We're expecting a family statement to be read out by the spokesperson of the Pistorius family at about 9:30 today. That'll be the first that we're hearing from the Pistorius family since Oscar Pistorius was released yesterday at about 7:30. But just to chat a bit about what these conditions are that are expected, that Oscar Pistorius is expected to adhere to under house arrest here at this Waterkloof home. I'm joined now by Karen van Eck, who's been monitoring this case over the past 18 months with us. Karen, thank you very much for your time. Let's talk first of all about what correctional supervision is.
Well, we can only speculate on what it's going to be for Oscar Pistorius, but the standard will be house arrest. So that would mean that for the most part of the day he should spend at home, not socializing in the sense of going to parties or going out, but he can go out for work purposes if he does have a formal employment or whatever that's going to be. I've always said it's going to be very interesting in his circumstances what is his formal employment going to be. And then obviously we believe that there's going to be community service. He's already indicated during the trial that he wants to do community service and give back, so we believe there's going to be community service or some form of that. And then obviously we've already heard that he's going to continue going for therapy, but that's good because it's integrating him back into society and ensuring that he adjusts to the situation again.
Well, we were told that Oscar Pistorius will be released this morning, and quite clearly it came as a shock to everybody that Oscar Pistorius was released in the evening, outside of the normal office hours. Did it come as a surprise to you?
Well, yes, you've just said it. It's normal. There's normal working hours. It's an administrative function. There's people doing the administrative duties, and they don't work out of office hours. So it was definitely a surprise, and it was definitely unusual for them to have decided to do that during the evening. And it will be interesting to see what they say over time. I've seen that they've just made the statement that it was in their interest, but it will be interesting to see how that plays out for them in future.
I want to fast forward to the Bloemfontein Supreme Court of Appeal, where the state hopes to get Oscar Pistorius found guilty on murder. What is likely, if we can speculate at all at this time, is likely to come out of the Bloemfontein Supreme Court of Appeal?
Well, they're obviously going to look at whether the judge made the wrong decision in terms of how she applied her mind to how she got to the decision. But I believe that if they look at the facts again, they're going to come to the same conclusion. It's just going to be in the different way that they get to it. So it's still going to be culpable homicide if they look at all the facts that is currently in front of them, because they cannot consider any other facts than what was already heard at the trial.
But does the state, in your view, have a strong case? Is Oscar Pistorius' freedom, could it be short-lived?
You know what, it's going to be very interesting to see what the judges say, and I think it's I don't think we've got a better chance than a 50-50 at this stage to see that it goes either way. It definitely, we've seen that there was a lot of criticism against the judgment and how Judge Masipa got to a decision. So I think they have to give us more clarity on that, but whether that's going to change the verdict, I don't believe it's really going to.
What we understand at this point is that Oscar Pistorius would need to undergo continuous psychotherapy, and that, of course, he cannot be in possession of a gun. But I want to talk about the probation officer who has been allocated to Oscar Pistorius. Our understanding is that in 6 months' time, when he or she does give a full report to the officials at Kgosi Mampuru, they could look at perhaps relaxing Oscar Pistorius' conditions, if at all he has complied that far. Is there any way you're able to confirm that to us? Is there any likelihood, if he does comply to the current conditions, perhaps we might even see them relaxed much further?
If they talk about relaxing, I believe it will be more than that he's allowed certain hours to go out of the house more, but there's still going to be house arrest. I don't think they'll ever take that away. So the majority of the time he'll have to spend at home, and if he goes out of the home, it should be a structured activity where they know about it, and that's either work or religious, or shopping is personal belongings or whatever. So I don't think they're going to relax it to the point where house arrest is completely stopped. The community service, they might lessen the hours if they believe that they should relax it, but I also don't think they will do that.
Just to break it up there, it seems like we're going to get a family statement now from the Pistorius family. A lot of the media running towards that direction at the moment. That press briefing will be live here. Just stay with us here on SABC News. We'll take that press briefing, hopefully bring it to you live at the moment. If you just joined us, you're watching live visuals here from the Waterkloof home of Arnold Pistorius. Arnold Pistorius, the uncle of Oscar Pistorius, the first that we will hear from the family at this stage with regard to what their thoughts are on Oscar Pistorius' release. I'm sure one of the things that they're going to call for, they'll perhaps call for a lot of privacy. Many media houses, the numbers continue to grow. The numbers continue to grow just to ensure that perhaps there's continuing rolling coverage. The numbers keep growing. We'll bring you that press conference, or rather that statement that is being read by a family spokesperson live here on SABC News. That's certainly to unfold here in the next few minutes. We have to bring you that press, or that statement that is being read out live here on SABC News. What you're seeing there is quite a media scrum to ensure that the statement that is being read out by the Pistorius representative or spokesperson will be read out in the next few minutes. Of course, you heard our legal analyst speaking to us just a few minutes ago, stating that it did come as quite a shock to many people in the legal fraternity that Oscar Pistorius was released under correctional supervision after hours. They've labelled it as unusual, but of course the Department of Correctional Services saying that it was totally at the discretion of the officials at the Kgosi Mampuru prison to ensure that the interests of the victim, of the offender, as well as the Department of Correctional Services are taken into account. And certainly what we would see at this stage is that perhaps they wanted to avoid the media frenzy that we've seen. I'm going to ask our camera person, Given Masetoni, please, to just head towards that direction. It doesn't look like it's gotten underway just yet at this time. We hope to bring you that live here on SABC News. The first reaction from the Pistorius family with regard to Oscar Pistorius being released under correctional supervision yesterday. If you've just joined us, these are live visuals outside the Waterkloof.
Now we will go back to Griselda as soon as we get that statement. We believe that it's going to be at 9:30, so you have to stay tuned right here on Newsroom. We're also asking your